What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be talking about perfectionism in poker. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How does it affect your performance? And if you are a perfectionist, do you need to do anything about it? That's going to be what we're going to cover in today's video. Now, I'm working with a lot of players at the moment, and a few of them are on the perfectionist side of the scale. By this I mean perfectionism. There's extreme perfectionism, and there's like slight perfectionism. If you're extremely perfectionist, you're going to have a lot of these negative traits that I'm talking about today, and you're going to need to take action to balance this out. So perfectionism often gets hidden under the kind of label of high standards. I'm a perfectionist because I have high standards. And today I'm going to argue that that's often not the case. And even if it was the case, the negative effects of it are so extreme that you need to be working to remove those perfectionist tendencies, especially in the poker context. So, first of all, studies have been showing for a long time now that if you're a perfectionist, you're more likely to suffer from depression, you're more likely to have anxiety, you're more likely to have stress, and you're increasing your likelihood of mental health problems. All of these just from being a perfectionist. You're putting so much standards on yourself that when you don't live up to those, the byproduct is all these negative emotions. Do you want any of those? Two more, just to throw into the mix, which are really, really negative emotions. Guilt and shame are magnified if you're a perfectionist. They're two of the lowest energy states you can possibly get. If you're trying to perform well and you're guilty, or you're feeling shame, or you're just trying to experience life, these are you do not want those. So you've got to understand, like, as a perfectionist, if you are a perfectionist, you've got to say, okay, the consequence I'm getting, are they worth it? Am I getting the performance gain? Am I getting the achievement gain, which a lot of perfectionists think they are? Am I getting it? And I'm going to argue that you probably aren't, and we'll go into it as we go through the video. So the difference between depression and anxiety, the reason perfectionism is different is a lot of people who do have perfectionist tendencies, they value it. They're almost like, look at me, I'm a perfectionist, I've got these tendencies, so it's almost like a valuable trait. You don't really think it's negative if someone goes, I'm a perfectionist. You go, oh, cool, got high standards, good for you. But in reality, it's generally a mask. It's generally a mask which is hiding something, right? And what it's hiding, what the causes of perfectionism are very often fear. Fear of failure, fear of looking bad, fear of not being good enough, fear of not being worthy, some form of fear of judgment. There's lots of things behind the scene, but often the root cause of perfectionism is fear. Scared to be judged, scared to look bad, scared to not be good enough. So you've got to understand, okay, the root cause is coming from an insecurity, of fear. The consequences are a lot of negative emotions. Okay, this is not looking good so far if I'm a perfectionist. If you guys are like, this is me, I'm a perfectionist. Keep going, keep going. Is it worth it for performance? So this is the question I want to answer in this video. Is it worth being a perfectionist for your performance as a poker player? Now, a sports star, Cristiano Ronaldo, often gets called a perfectionist. And he recently clarified that he's not a perfectionist and that he strives for excellence, not perfect. Strives to be excellent, not perfect. So even someone who gets labeled as a perfectionist, often they're seeking excellence and they're not seeking to do everything perfectly right. So in terms of effect on performance, if you're a perfectionist, what's going to happen is you're going to make mistakes, and that's going to negatively spiral you. You're going to get more stressed, you're going to get more anxious, you're going to be harder on yourself. Now, if you're an extreme individual, like a Michael Jordan character, if any of you guys have watched The Last Dance, you'll see like the nature of him, but some people can use the negative drives to improve performance, like real extreme negative emotions like anger, rage, to improve performance. Most people can't, especially for poker, because poker those emotions can't be channeled. In sports, you can channel negative emotions more with the body. But in poker, emotions generally have an inverse effect on performance. So as a poker player, if you are a perfectionist, I can guarantee you that you're going to be on a roller coaster of emotions. So if the average person's going on a roller coaster like this, up and down, you're going one like this. You're going up and down. And the reason being is, we live in an imperfect world, and poker is a game, one of the ultimate games of incomplete information. Perfectionism is not only unattainable, it's just so far, you can not get anywhere close to perfect. You can't get anywhere close, no matter how long you play, no matter how much you beat yourself, the standard you set yourself is impossible. So what happens is, when your expectations of perfectionism, you expect perfectionism, reality is always going to be below it. That gap that you've created for yourself is going to be the pain that you experience. Expectations, reality, pain in the middle. All right. So to be a perfectionist is, one, you're being unrealistic. 2, you're causing all these negative emotions that we talked about before. 3, the cause is secretly fear of all these things coming up, and it doesn't even give you that performance gain you think you're going to get. Now, some of you guys might be perfectionists, and you might be going, Adam, yes, I'm a perfectionist, but I know it doesn't help my performance. I want to improve it. I want to get rid of this. It's just part of who I am. I am a perfectionist. And the thing is, perfectionism isn't a behavior. It's a way of thinking about yourself. All right? Perfectionism is a way of thinking about yourself. Now, the thing about this is we can change the way we think. We're programmed to think in a certain way from our past experiences, from our society, from our life experiences. We're programmed. And the way we think is being conditioned into us. All right? So the beauty is we can consciously change that. So if you're a perfectionist right now and you need some actionable steps, like, okay, Adam, you've sold me on the fact that being a perfectionist isn't a great idea and it's definitely not going to help me as a poker player. What can I do to make some steps in the right direction? 2 key things you need to work on to balance this and get more in sync with reality. Because that's the thing, when you're a perfectionist, you're out of sync with reality. The world's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. Everything is constantly in change, constantly in flow, constantly evolving, constantly incomplete but getting better. Like you look at a tree, is that tree the perfect tree? It's not, it's still growing, it's still improving. It's like, I don't know if it's perfect. When do you stop and go, this is perfect? It's always in a state of evolution and flow. So we need to understand that if we're seeking perfectionism, we're out of sync with reality. So you've got to get more in sync with reality in order to stop the pain you're causing from being out of sync. So 2 things. First one, you need to give yourself permission to make mistakes. Sounds weird, right? You need to give yourself permission. You need to allow yourself to make mistakes. And you need to know that making mistakes is normal and it's part of the process of getting better. You can't get better without making mistakes. I think there's a Michael Jordan quote that kind of says like, I think it's an advert for Nike actually. He's talking about I've missed 500 shots. He's talking about all his failures, and then it ends with, and that's why I win. That's why I win. And you've got to have the failures in order to have the successes. And as a perfectionist, you often forget that. You want to have the success, all the achievements, but you don't want to go for the failures. You need to change your relationship with failure. And the first thing is, I give myself permission to make mistakes. This doesn't mean you have low standards. This doesn't mean you go and just don't learn from mistakes. This doesn't mean that you drop the ball and you just like let yourself just do whatever. It means you allow yourself to make mistakes and learn from them. All right? So permission. If you don't give yourself permission to make mistakes, if you're like, you know what, I'm a perfectionist, I'm not accepting mistakes. That's for weak people. That's for losers to accept mistakes. You will always experience the maximum amount of pain when you make them. Because the standard you're setting for yourself is unachievable. You need to give yourself permission to make them. You're going to try to alleviate them. You're going to try and learn from them, but you need permission to make some mistakes. All right? The second thing is you need acceptance. You need to accept the role of mistakes and the role of not being perfect. You need to accept that, you know what, as much as you try, as hard as you work, as much as you hustle, as much as you whip yourself, you've got to accept you're never going to be perfect in anything. Harsh reality, right? But you need to accept that. If we don't accept that we're not perfect, if we don't accept that we have weaknesses, that we've got parts of our life, parts of our personality, parts of our poker game that just aren't that good, and we're never going to be perfect at them, we're going to always suffer. So permission to make mistakes and accepting that I'm always improving, always in a state of growth, but accepting that I'll never be perfect. And if you do those things, just change that mindset. Like I said, perfectionism is a way of thinking about yourself. It's not a behavior. It's a way of thinking about yourself. So if you think about yourself in terms of, I need to do everything right. I need to have the right results. I need to make sure I don't make mistakes. I need to do everything perfectly. You're setting yourself up for all these negative emotions, depression, anxiety, stress, mental health. You're driving those fears. So do a little bit of examining. Ask yourself, where is this perfectionism coming from? What is your root fear? Get to the bottom of it. Get to understand yourself. I think a lot of developments, when I'm working with players, I always try to help them educate themselves. I always try to improve their self-awareness. Because once you've got self-awareness, you can start to make changes. So ask yourself, where is this perfectionism coming from? If I had to pin it down to one fear, what is the one fear that's causing this imperfectionism? And then try to give yourself those two things I talked about. So the first one, permission to make mistakes, and the second one, accepting that you won't be perfect. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If any of you guys are perfectionists and you've been watching this and you're like, oh, this is good stuff, I've learned some stuff from this, let me know in the comments. Let me know, the fear that you're having that causes your imperfectionism and how it's affecting you, and I'll get back to you in the comments with some tips. Also, if you're looking for ways to improve your mindset, but you're not sure where to start, I've got a free quiz in the description. If you click on that, go for the quiz, it'll tell you what level your mindset is right now, and also give you some tips on things to work on and areas to improve. So thanks for watching this. Make sure you hit the like button before you go so the algorithm likes you. I've got 2 videos every single week coming for you guys, so you don't want to miss them. Thanks for watching. Plenty more coming from me very soon.